They need to start where they are now. They need to become really aware of and accept the space that they're in at the moment. Because until we actually accept where we are, we can't really move forward.
Nobody's business is so complex that this can't be done. This is the big picture. Good afternoon, Brisbane. Welcome to another episode of one of the fun times I get to interview people. Today I've got Paul Farmer here from Mentoris. Paul and I are going to be having a bit of a chat around what's happening economically at the moment, what are some of the options for small businesses, the whole term strategy, whether it's actually something that we can plan for at the moment, given the degree of uncertainty. Paul, thanks for coming in. Do you want to just give everybody a quick rundown on who you are and what you get up to?
Thanks, Marty. Friday afternoon special, sitting, talking. Pretty much one of the things that I love to do. For me, small business, medium-sized business, I've got a corporate background, but being able to bring that to the small to medium-sized business environment is what I love to do. You know, sitting, giving people an opportunity to chat around like a sounding board. Very similar to what we're doing here, but being able to give business owners an opportunity to have a conversation with someone not in their business.
Yeah.
Right? One of the reasons why I stepped into this space is because from a background of a small business family, growing up, mum and dad didn't really have this structured ability to have a conversation with someone who has a business background. So for me, that is one of the reasons why I love being in this space. Talking strategy, talking mindset, but just talking.
Yeah.
Especially in an environment where we've got an environment that's quite uncertain at the moment. So it's quite easy to sit in the corner office of an organisation and not have someone that you can actually throw stuff off, bounce ideas off. So
There's plenty of times we'd love to have somebody to throw something at. Yeah.
I'm broad shoulders. I'm good at that. I take that quite well.
Yeah. Good times. Mate, it must be, and it's definitely one of the things, I've seen similar things. You see people who are good at what they do, but they're entrenched in their business. They don't have that person to talk to about it. They don't pull those opportunities apart. They don't have that critical analysis of a wider perspective of things.
Yeah.
Understandably, because they're flat out in their business.
And it's also something that, whether it's an Australian way or whether it's just the way blokes think, it's like I'll just keep charging on, doing what I need to do. I'll just do more hours, or not having the conversation with someone outside of the business. I'll just keep charging on and I'll be right.
How dangerous is that always, and is it more dangerous to be just charging on now than it ever? Like, with all of the uncertainty that is around, is it more dangerous to be just charging along, do you think?
It's uncharted waters.
Yeah.
Unless you work through the GFC, which again was quite a significant challenge. But at the moment, there's no playbook for what's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Having said that, giving yourself an opportunity to be able to get an independent perspective of what you're doing, then sometimes it's as easy as, what you're doing is actually bang on.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly what you need to do. You're doing it well. Your team are functioning as they should be.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it, because you're on a path that is actually quite successful in terms of growth.
Yeah.
But then sometimes the way you see the road in front of you may not necessarily include all the options.
Yeah.
So it's opening up your ability to be able to see the options that do come at you, which you may not see because you are in the middle of doing what it is that you do. I'll give an example from a sporting perspective. We all love sporting analogies, and being a rugby coach, if you're leading a drill or a skill or whatever, you don't get to see how people are performing because you're focusing on what you want people to do, not how they're doing it. Whereas when you've got someone that's standing here watching people do what they do, then they're able to give them independent feedback on what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
So it just gives that external perspective of what they are doing, and it might just be a 1%er. A little tip here, a little tip there. You're not asking someone to shift a mountain.
Yeah.
It's just, what are some of the things that we could do to actually become more efficient, more effective? Do we have to pivot? Do we have to consider what we're doing, and is that appropriate to someone in the market that you're in at the moment?
I want to talk about pivot in a second because that's one of the buzz phrases at the moment. Just jump online, pivot, take it on. It's not an option for everybody.
Yep.
It is an option for some people, and when it is, it doesn't mean that it can happen tomorrow, depending on what's happening in their business. But before we dive into that, we can offer and somebody can offer an external perspective on something, but we're sitting here with a glass of water in front of us. It's important to remember that, not just a crystal ball.
Yeah.
None of us know what is ever going to happen, and even less so now. Do you feel like that people expect more from somebody like yourself now to walk into a scenario and say this is what's going to happen, because none of us have those answers?
Interestingly enough, depending on how, and I'm going to say how self-aware people are and how comfortable they are with knowing their business.
Yep.
If you have someone that's aware of their business, what makes it operate, what makes it work, then they're going to be less looking for answers, but looking for reassurance or some guidance.
Yep.
Whereas if you've got someone that doesn't really understand their numbers, doesn't understand the drivers of their business, doesn't understand their cost structures, isn't aware of what it takes to make their business successful, potentially they're going to be the ones that are looking to you to give them the answers. And as a strategist, as a coach, as a mentor, then, as you said, we don't have all the answers. At the same time, based on our experience, we are able to then provide opportunities to see there may be some more options than they currently see.
Yeah.
So crystal ball, who has one? Not me. But at the same time, it's also about listening to where they are and how do we help them see where they may be able to create change, or we'll get into pivoting in a minute, but in terms of what are the options? These are the options I see. Okay, what would it take to be able to create some other options?
Yeah. Where do people start is a question that I feel, and I have my own thoughts on this, but if somebody was to come to you and say, hey, Paul, with everything that's happening right now, coronavirus is taking on, if you want to pull a particular industry scenario, go for gold, but where does somebody start in terms of assessing what they think their options are and then hopefully trying to widen that scope of options? What's the first thing they need?
They need to start where they are now.
Yeah.
So they need to become really aware of and accept the space that they're in at the moment. Because until we actually accept where we are, we can't really move forward. Because generally, if we don't accept it, then we don't have a starting point.
Yeah.
So in terms of looking at your business and looking at you and your mindset and where you are, where am I? Am I in a space where I'm uncertain, I'm scared, I'm calm, I'm comfortable, I'm in control? What am I feeling? But also, where are we from a business perspective? And getting clear on what that is. Now, if you have to become more aware of what your financial situation is, then if you accept that you may not be 100% aware of it, then you can go, well, I need to do more work to become more aware, to be able to make decisions based on what we're trying to achieve. But until we've got the starting point, which is where are we now?
Yeah.
Then at that point, then you can then go, right, this is where we are. What do we want to do to move forward? And where would we like to go? It's uncertain, I get it. And what do they say? It's a business plan is right for one day only. The next day it's out of date. So, but in terms of looking at where you are to then go, well, what would I like to happen? And the time frame might not be a 12-month time frame. It might be a week, a month, 6 months, to say, well, what ultimately would I like to see happen? And then, if that's what I would like to happen, then what would it take to make that happen? And what options do I have to try and create that?
Yeah. I see that piece as you have to know where you are and you have to know where you're going. And as things change in the middle, if you know those things all the time, then that allows you to pivot, move, adapt. That may not be pivot in the sense that it's being talked about now, but that allows you to adapt. I describe it like driving a car. If I know that I want to go to the Brisbane CBD right now and I think that I'm going to take the Story Bridge and the Story Bridge turns out, then I can turn around and make a different way to go in there.
Agreed.
Because I know where I am, I know where I got to go. And that, even though my strategy was to go over the bridge, because things have changed since I got in the car and left, I can now pull a U-turn and still get there. It's just taking a little bit more time.
And the interesting thing is that, let's say, for example, your standard offering is a 12-month offering, for example.
Yep.
People sign on to a program and it goes for 12 months.
Yep.
In the current market, does the market want a 12-month program? Maybe, maybe not. Do they want something that is going to give them a little more certainty in the near term to be able to then say, well, is there an alternative product that isn't a 12-month product, but it is what the market wants?
Yep.
And is it a risk assessment? Is it something that's there? Is it, I just want to sit down and do a strategy session around getting comfortable of where I actually am in my business because I'm not 100% clear around that.
Yep.
Is that I just want to be able to sit in a room with someone for an hour and talk about my business and talk about what options they might see because I see this and I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 100%. If you have a feeling of where you want your business to go, then that's a starting point. But as you say, being flexible around the way that you are getting towards that ultimate goal.
Yeah. Everything that's going on right now, let's talk about pivot for a moment because some businesses do have an option to pivot. We can deliver our services online. Maybe I can take that 12-month program and make it, instead of I'm still delivering the same thing, but I'm going to offer it on a month-to-month basis because of what's going on. What is the situation for somebody who has less options in terms of that? They've got a bricks and mortar store, they're in hospitality, they're in maybe tourism or something that's been hit harder. Is pivoting all that it's cracked up to be? What are some of the things that people are going to miss when they just think, I'm going to take it online, I'm going to disperse all my team to home and business is going to run as usual? What are some of the pitfalls, things for people to be aware of?
Before you ask that question, the question is, what if you don't?
Yeah.
So I think the first question is, if you don't, then what options do you have?
Could be dead in the water anyway, you may as well try.
So I think that the more pertinent question would be, if you don't, then what do you get? Okay, is that an option that you are happy with? If not, then it's like, okay, well maybe there's an opportunity to look outside the square.
Yeah.
Look at some of the hospitality, and again, just you don't believe everything you read, but some organisations now, they're talking about pivoting, and rather than being a catering company, they're now offering home delivery.
Yeah.
So in terms of in certain environments, then if you continue to do what you currently do, and a lot of event companies, same thing.
Yeah.
It's, option one is we keep doing what we're doing. Does that work? Potentially no. Okay, then what options do we have? We then change tack to be able to then go, well, maybe there's another service we can offer.
Yeah.
So I suppose looking at the option of, if you don't have options to change your direction.
Yeah.
One of the big things is being aware of what it is that you can offer.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean, it's not an environment where some businesses can't change quickly, but it's listening to the market and saying what is the market and what does it want at the moment?
Yeah.
How does that fit into the services that we provide? And some businesses, they are built like that. They work in a particular industry, and they offer a particular service to a particular industry, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So the choices are continue doing that and get the results that you get, or consider, are there other ways that we can actually consider broadening the niche that we're actually in?
Yeah.
And at this time, again, there's no playbook, there's no. It's
everything's on the table.
It's relatively unprecedented. So it's okay. Well, are we able to change? And if so, then what are the options that we've got?
Do we try and take the same product to a new market? Do we try and take a different product to our existing market? is there an order of priority for people, or is it just laying it on the table going, all cards are out at the moment, let's see what we can do, where do we go, what carries the least amount of risk?
So I'll ask you a question. If your business is on the line, what do you look at?
Financial situation, what's my time frame and how urgently do I have to be doing this? And I'm just looking at where can I generate some revenue to keep whatever my bare minimums are ahead,
Which essentially, the question is that a new product? Is it an existing product? Is it low-hanging fruit? What is it? It will vary depending on business and industry and whatever, but at the same time, it's also, you looking at your business specifically and going, do I have the ability to do something else?
Yeah.
Am I structured in a way that what I do is actually quite niche? Is it then looking at other areas to take my existing product? Am I able to develop an alternative product in a short period of time?
Yeah.
Again, every business is different, but if your business depends on your ability to innovate or your ability to think outside the square, then you'll do what you need to do to be able to create a thought process around how do we go about considering something that's a little left field.
Yeah, I'm going in line with the question that I answering that myself. I'm going same product or the smallest variation I can make on my product to the smallest variation I can make in the market, because that's going to be the minimum amount of disruption in my own business and most probability that I'm going to be able to do it.
Yep.
I've been lucky in that I never niched at all. So if somebody has gone into a very narrow, very deep niche and then their customer is now in a lot of pain, they're in a very different situation.
True.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying. Like, everybody's got to play where you're at.
That's it. I mean, you are, which comes back to making sure that you are very aware of what your business is, what it does, how it does it, and the strengths that you have, because when there is uncertainty, it's the strengths that you play to.
Yeah.
Is having an alternate product. I mean, branching off into something different. It's like, okay, well, we're going to choose to do this. Yeah. But is that going to be something that the market wants?
Yeah. You mentioned the question before, which to me is the age-old question of every business. What does the market want? How can I service that? And companies who are focused on that are continually pivoting, tweaking, changing.
Yeah.
And companies who are stuck traditionally are, this is what we do, we just ram it down people's throat until they buy it, or we take the whatever we can get. But if an organisation is continually open to that thought of, what is it that my customers really want?
Yeah.
And how can I deliver that better? Then they're already answering or thinking about one of the hardest questions that it is for them to.
And how do you find that out?
Talk to them. Depending on, again, it's easy I say talk to them because I go, cool, well, I got a small number of clients. If you have a low value, high volume product or service line, it's harder, but the answer is still the same. You still just have to talk to them, whether you take a sample collection, pick your top clients, pick your worst clients.
But sometimes it makes it easier because you've got a bigger sample.
Bigger pool to draw from. Yeah.
Because if you have a smaller base of clients, then you're getting a limited feedback pool from a smaller base. But if you have a larger volume of clients, then a survey or a conversation or around having a conversation with, which I think in uncertain times, having a conversation with your clients up front to find out what's happening in their circles gives you the ability to understand what their pain points are, where they are, where they may need help. It may not be help that you can provide them, but if you have the ability to connect someone that you know, like and trust to them, that's adding value to a customer. So it may not necessarily be that it's work that you can do, but it might be an opportunity to be able to connect someone that you know with them to be able to add value to them. Which I had a conversation with this earlier today. It's when you have someone in an environment like this, if you have the ability to help someone, then it makes you a good human. You know, let's
101. let's just like put that at the top of above business. Like let's just be decent people.
Let's not forget that we are human.
Yeah.
But also it gives them, it builds that trust between you and them.
For sure.
In an environment whereby, you know, even just picking up the phone and checking in and see how someone's going.
Yeah.
In an environment that is challenging is, you know, that can be huge.
I think there's an enormous opportunity for organizations, everybody, as human beings. Businesses are run by people. As human beings, there is an enormous opportunity for brand to really show through at the moment. I think, you know, stress and pressure that is happening at the moment is going to force people's true colours to come out. And those people who are genuine about trying to help people, trying to find a win, trying to connect the right person, not selling somebody the wrong product or taking advantage of them, those people are going to do really well in the long term. And the people who are, you know, trying to take advantage, panicking, self-focused, like everybody's self-focused to a certain extent, but yeah, people who forget about being a good human first, I think are going to be the first ones that we see around
and for whatever reason, I'm someone that just loves helping people. So if I can see an opportunity to help someone get something done or get something fixed or have a conversation with someone who is going to help them, then by nature, just the way that I'm wired, the way that I operate, that's the way that I operate. So I'm going to put them in contact with them to be able to help them. You know, if at some stage that then comes full circle back to me in terms of they then choose to refer me to someone that they know, then, you know, so be it. But in terms of, you know, thinking of that help others first, yes, when you're in an environment where your business is being tested, then we do become, you know, protective of us and what we're doing.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's also trying to then ensure that those around you in times of challenge, they know that you're there.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, giving it an opportunity to then come back full circle to you because you've actually helped in times.
That is one of the things that I most deeply believe. I don't know, like I wouldn't call it like a faith or a universe or a secret or like anything like that. I don't do it because I want it to come back, but I genuinely, like in my heart of hearts, like right down in the depths of my soul, believe that if you help enough people get forward, then you'll eventually go with them. It may not come back directly, I help you and then you help me, but I just genuinely believe if you are out there making the best effort to help people move forward, eventually things will work out okay. They always will. So,
yeah, as long as you're surrounding yourself with quality people.
Yeah.
Because if you choose to not have quality people around you, then potentially that may not come back.
Yeah.
So
can't help those who don't want to be helped or who are there just trying to take advantage of it. And
yeah. So in times of being clear around the people that you surround yourself with. You know, working with quality humans, quality business people that actually get the way that you operate and are in things for the right reason, then, you know, you're open and you go, you know what, I'm going to help you. I'm going to put someone in contact with you. But ensuring that you've got quality people around you to be able to be in a situation where it's not one-way traffic all the time and there's no appreciation. It's, you know what, we do this for the right reason.
For sure. Yeah. Talk to me, let's come back to some nuts and bolts and sort of ideas for people, what they can be thinking about. People are concerned, there's a bit of scarcity, there's not a bit, there's a substantial amount of scarcity. People are concerned, everybody, there's risk everywhere. You've mentioned the first piece is to know where you are. Because if you know where you are mentally, business, financially, then you've got a base point to start with and properly assess that. But what are some of the things that we can be looking at as business owners to say, how can we minimize our risk and what's happening in our business?
Getting aware of what your financial position is key. You know, I think we chatted yesterday, the day before, you know, in terms of looking at your debtors.
Yeah.
Looking at your commitments, looking at work that you've got locked in for the next 3 months, 6 months, etc., etc. Looking at the contracts that you've got in place, looking at your processes around whether it's collecting debts, having things in place whereby you're removing the element of chance and assumption by whether it's having a conversation with the people that you've got contracts with going forward.
For sure.
To say, hey, just give me a quick call just to check in, to see how things are going, see what's happening in your circles. Being tight around having your financial information up to date. Is huge. And in today's day, most people are using Xero or using an accounting package. They do a lot of it themselves, or they have a bookkeeper that does it. Ensuring that our information is up to date so we can make more quality decisions because we have the information in front of us. There was a business during the week who were looking at making a decision around to buy an asset. And 12 months ago, they would have done it based on gut feel. Now, they made the decision based on the fact that they had a cash flow forecast in place. And they went, if our turnover was halved, what would that mean? And would we still be able to make the same decision? And so by having the information available, they were able to look at the impact and see whether it felt right to be able to make that decision. Without that, it would have been a gut feel decision, and they possibly wouldn't have done it. Now that they have done it, it's actually saving them money.
Wow. I find there's either one end or the other. Like, people have no information and they're just working on whatever's in their bank account, or they're bombarded and bamboozled with information because they've got so much. I find this so I always look, and when I'm looking for what are the 3, 5, maybe 7 things, but what are those really key pieces financially and operationally that you want to keep your finger on, and I refer to that as the pulse of your business. But the volume of people that don't have that, and it's just, going back to that, it can be established in a matter of a couple of hours. Get your books up to date, look at where you're going on. A couple of hours, half a day, phone call with your accountant. Do
a cash forecast. Have a forecast, whether it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. Have that information up to date so you're aware of what your commitments are and what other people's commitments are to you. So that you then have an understanding of the impact that a decision potentially will have on your financial position.
People are going to be facing the conversation or the decision around, I've got a contract in place with somebody. They're going to potentially void on that contract for a short term, but they may be still a good long-term client. Where do you think people can potentially draw lines on these type of things? Because it's obviously a tough situation to be saying, Paul, you're my client and you've committed to a 6-month program with me, and we're 2 months into that. However, I also understand that your business is under some serious financial stress right now, and I'm one of the things that you're going to reduce out of that. Do people have to evaluate it? Do they do that on a gut feel? Do they need some numbers around that?
It comes back to a conversation. Understanding your business, understanding the value of that customer, the relationship you have with that customer. You might have a great relationship with them, and it might just be that in the next 3 to 6 months there will be things will be tight. As a business owner, you then have a choice. If I value that relationship longer term, I then choose to be able to go, well, maybe there's something that we can have a conversation about in terms of whether it's delaying payments or whether it's reducing payments to then, in a period of time, put them back up. Again, that's from a business perspective, understanding where you are and what you're able to commit to. Gives you the information to go into that conversation to say, over the next 3 months, I'm prepared for you to pay half. Which, when we get through where we are at the moment, to help you be able to get through this, then at the back end, then we'll look at
Catching that up. Working through it.
Yeah, but again, it depends on the relationship you have with that customer, and also whether you and your business are able to support that.
Yeah.
You can give everyone a 3-month stop on all their payments, but then if that means your business goes out of business, then it kind
Doesn't
of
help either of you, does it?
defeats the purpose of you being there to help them. Again, understanding your situation, but also then the relationship you have with that client. If you've got a relationship with them and you can have a conversation about what it means and what options you've got,
Yeah.
then it then becomes a choice around the way that you operate. I mean, you
Yeah.
can choose to leave things as they are, and that'll have a certain set of outcomes.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation with them, which will then bring up another set of outcomes.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to, drop it down and bring it back in 3 months. But do we know that in 3 months' time things will be any better than they are now? Who knows? So all of these options, based on talking about one client.
Yeah.
If the client is a valued client, then it may have a difference between the way you operate with them as opposed to someone that might not be an existing or a longer term client.
Yeah. None of us have a crystal ball. We've said this theme keeps coming up. My sort of gut feel, and from what I'm reading about, I'm sort of thinking that we've got 3 to 6 months ahead of us of things being pretty rough. I'm thinking it's the last quarter of the calendar year, second quarter of the financial year before we start to see things pick up again. Again, we can put the plan in place today. It can change tomorrow. There can be a vaccine next week. We don't know. I'm working through an expenses sheet, going, okay, well, where's our financial position going? Where could we reduce things? Nothing's off the table. Have a conversation with your landlord. If you're a bricks and mortar business, you got landlord, staff, insurances, a couple of big, expense items.
Yep.
Everything is on the table as far as what opportunities are there. What am I missing something there? If I say,
well, the interesting thing is the fact that, which generally, I'll say generally, but in terms of, we generally focus on the cost side of things.
Yeah.
We don't consider the sales side of things.
Yeah.
Because what we tend to do is we tend to go, what can we cut?
Yeah.
Or let's look at what we're spending. How do we minimise what we're spending? Alternatively, is it an opportunity to be able to get out in front of more potential customers to be able to then say, well, if we're able to spend more time in front of customers, is that going to give us an opportunity to consider some of the costs that we have as investments as opposed to costs?
Yeah.
And so focusing time on building your sales tends to be something that gets put off because we spend our time trying to focus on minimising cost.
Yeah.
Looking at cost is massive, I get it. At the same time, are there ways that you can potentially get in front of existing customers? Customers that may be within the circles of your existing customers, new customers.
Yeah.
Nothing to say that environments like this, there aren't opportunities to be able to be getting in front of new people.
So there's going to be winners somewhere.
So, for example, there might be someone who historically has used a Big Four.
Yeah.
In a financial sense, there might be someone who's been using a Big Four, and they've gone, well, we now need to look at what we're doing, and our investment is at this level.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's in that level, there isn't anything to say that that by someone choosing to step into a smaller bracket, that becomes an opportunity for people in that bracket to be able to be open to new clients. So there's nothing to say that we always have to focus on our costs, because there potentially is an opportunity for new clients to be needing your service.
Yeah.
And if you have a product that clients who haven't been in your sphere, they now actually sit there and go, well, actually they've got a slightly different product. That's actually what I would like to take on. I've been dealing in a 12-month program, but maybe there's a strategy piece here, a 2-hour strategy session.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that fits into what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So then, if we're constantly looking at what we can save, then we then start to sort of potentially take our eye off some of the opportunities to be able to speak to people about how we look at generating sales, which are different sales, which goes back to the conversation about a 12-month versus a risk assessment or something like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of ties in. That's just one example.
It all comes back to, where are you? If you know that you're in a business where there's going to be opportunity, and you can, and the other big piece to me is balance. Know where you are and balance. If you are at any point in your business, good times, bad times, or otherwise, if you are frivolous with spending and just plowing through money, you're not going to be around long. If you are all about sales and not about spending, then that's not going to be. It's balanced. They call it a balance sheet at some point. I guess the assets, but it's got to be balanced to it. It all comes back to what you said. You have to know where you are. When you know where you are and you know what your market's doing, you got some options to play with.
Yeah. And looking at, looking at the example of, I started in the oil and gas industry years ago, but started where the oil price is at $30 a barrel.
Yeah.
It went from 15 to 25, and everyone goes, "Oh, we're loaded. Load up, lock this in." It then went to 140.
Yeah.
And then came back to 30. And so when it came back to 30, everyone's going, "Oh, we don't have any money and we've got to cut everything, whatever." But between 25 to 140 and back to 30, at what point was there an opportunity for people to be able to invest in their balance sheet or put a bit of money aside? We talk on a smaller scale, talk about small to medium-sized businesses, is looking at having a cash buffer.
Yeah.
Of $500 a month or whatever it is, just being able to put that away into an account where it sits and doesn't get touched, and then when things come up like this, then potentially there's an opportunity to be able to sustain something that wasn't planned.
Yeah.
And who planned this? No one. Mother Nature? Maybe, I don't know.
Would like to meet the person. They'd be in trouble. I would think there'd be a lot of unhappy people with them.
Yeah. But in terms of just having that little bit of a buffer that just because most businesses don't.
Yeah.
But getting into a habit of having a little bit, which just starts to build up over time.
Yeah.
So then where you are stretched or where you are challenged, this gives you an opportunity to be able to have a little bit, to give you a little bit of certainty, which gives you a little bit longer to be able to make decisions, but also if you have staff, be able to give it a longer timeline to be able to say, well, the decision that we potentially would need to make is here in 2 weeks' time. It gives us another 2 weeks.
And cash is the difference between that.
Yeah.
Cash is the difference between having a cash reserve is the difference between having to make a call today on what you do with your staff or having to make a call at the end of the month because you're comfortable until at least the end of the month.
It changes the decision you make today.
Yeah.
It doesn't change having to make a decision.
Yeah.
But it changes the decision that you make today because you can decide that we have a month to be able to do that. Or you can say, well, today we choose to do this.
Yeah.
But the decision that you make is choosing to go 2 weeks or to go a month.
Yeah.
But you're still making a decision on what it's going to be. It just changes that. But yeah, I mean, it is. Saying that now, it's like the horse is bolted, and most people sit there and they'll go, yeah, it's good to say that now, but back then we haven't done it, and we are where we are, which comes back to accepting where you are and going, well, okay, how do we move forward?
So just to wrap it up and to give us something to close out on, you're in a business like, take a good scenario or a bad scenario, you choose. You're in right now, it's a good scenario business where you've got a cash buffer thing, you've got good opportunities, things are happening, or you're in a business where shit, we should have saved some cash, but we're in a lot of troubles. What's 1-2 things that they can? What's the first couple of things that you do?
First thing for me, which we've said
15 times.
Get very aware of your business at the moment.
Yeah.
Be really, really aware of what the drivers are, who your clients are, what money you may have outstanding, what your next 3 months at this point in time, what your next 3 months looks like. That gives you a starting point. Whether you've got a buffer, whether you either way, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Both sorts of businesses need to know where they are. Also, then look at what you've got going forward and say, what conversations do I need to have today to try and ensure that I can sense what the businesses and the customers and the market and everything, how do I get a feeling for what that looks like for my business?
Yeah.
And the conversations that you need to have around getting some sort of certainty for you to be able to ensure that your business is progressing based on what you've got signed up or what you're looking to do going forward.
Yeah.
That will then give you an understanding of some of the things that you will need to do and some of the things you'll need to consider. Now, at that point, if you know how to make those things happen, then it then comes down to you actually either deciding to make them happen, which, let's be honest, that can be a challenging thing.
So knowing isn't executing.
Bingo. So then it's that, but then also just making sure that you are having those conversations.
Yeah.
So for me, getting a forecast in place.
Yep.
To understand, a lot of people talk net profit. That's rubbish. Cash flow. Cash is king. Knowing what that looks like over the next 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
And if you can be aware of that and how you can influence that.
Yep.
Then that's where your starting point is, because that will show you the conversations that you need to have.
Yep. Very good. Mate, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. It's always good. I always appreciate having a conversation with somebody thinks along the same kind of lines, helping out people, doing some great things. What's the best way for somebody to contact you if they're going to try and get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, mentorisgroup.com.au.
Yep.
Love to have a chat. Free 20-minute, 30-minute conversation around how we might be able to help. But as I say, the one thing is just get clear of where you are. And if you need to speak to someone, speak to someone.
Yeah. Good times. Paul,
Awesome.
Thanks very much for having us.
Cheers, Marty. Boom. Boom.
Cheers, mate.